Veterans, do you know what a VA fee agreement is? Do you know what information goes into it? Also, do you know what will happen if the claims agent or attorney does not waive the fee agreement if you revoke them as your representative? In today's video, I'm going to break down what a fee agreement is and what can happen if those individuals do not waive their fees. Make sure you stick around. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for the Kimball, United States Army veteran, retired VA rating specialist, and your VA claim nugget man. Before I get into today's video, make sure you go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. Also, for those of you that don't know, my new book, The VA Compensation Blueprint, It's Time to Win. It is live on Amazon. So make sure you go over to Amazon and pick up your copy today. So today's video, a lot of veterans do not know what fee agreements are. I did a video for the veterans that are in my monthly membership, and I was telling them about, I was talking to a veteran a couple of weekends ago, and the veteran said, Dwayne, my lawyer took 20%. And I knew immediately that the veteran had did a high-level review. And I was like, well, wait a minute. You signed a VA Form 21-22 Alpha, giving that person authorization to represent you. And the veteran and his wife, they said, yes, we did. But we revoked them, removed them as our representative, and we did it ourselves. And I said, when did you do it? And they said it was after they filed an appeal. And I immediately said, well, did the lawyer waive their fee? What are you talking about? So then we had to have this whole conversation about fee agreements, and the veteran couldn't remember this. The lawyer still got paid, and the veteran did all the work. So I'm going to explain some fee agreements, and then I'm going to give you some examples of some things that could happen as it pertains to an agent or a lawyer not waiving their fee agreements. When is the best time to revoke them if you don't want representation, so they don't get the 20%. All right, so a lot of information. Let's go ahead and get into it. Slide number one. Here in slide number one, I'm taking you out to the M21-5. Don't be confused with the M21-1. And this talks about information about fee agreements. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I didn't copy the entire M21-5, but I did find a lot of information. You have the number of the citation and the name, so you have enough to go out and do your research, okay? It was a lot of information as it pertains to fee agreements. So it states agents or attorneys, claims agents, may charge claimants fees for representation for review of decisions under this particular 38 CFR after an agency of original jurisdiction. So when you see AOG throughout these slides, they're talking about agency of original jurisdiction has issued notice of an initial decision on a claim. If the agent or attorney has complied with regulatory power of attorney and fee agreement requirements. Now, a lot of the employees, they won't say VSOs, agents, or attorneys. When I read it, we refer to those individuals as power of attorneys, your POA. But if you hear me say POA, I'm actually talking about either VSO, agent, or attorneys, okay? It's just VA claim language, all right, that we use, okay? So basically in this first paragraph, what they're saying is the only time an agent or a claims agent or an attorney is going to get paid when they file a high-level review after an initial adjudication. You received a rating decision and you got denied. Most law firms, and I've had lawyers tell me this and veterans tell me this as well, they'll try and go and seek representation for my agent or an attorney, and they'll say, nope, can't do it. When you get that decision and you get denied, then you give us a call. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just what the VA says. Now, can agent or attorney represent you like a VSO beforehand? Yeah, but a lot of them won't do it. Some will. There's some out there that will do it. So just keep that in mind. Then they give you an example, okay? A regional office issued an initial decision on February 20th, 2019, paid close attention to the dates, denying service connection for right knee disability. The veteran promptly appointed an attorney who timely submitted a completed direct pay fee agreement. We're talking about fee agreements, and filed a request for high-level review on March 10th, 2019. The high-level review resulted in a grant of service connection, resulting in payment of compensation to the veteran. Fees would be payable, okay? Because in that fee agreement, you're saying, hey, lawyer, attorney, or claims agent, I'm giving you 20%, meaning the VA is going to withhold that money and pay it to those individuals. Important, fees may be payable even if the agent or attorney who signed the fee agreement is no longer the current representative. I am going to talk about that after I go through these slides, and this is where it is going to get very confusing, and more so the reason you understand, okay? Let's keep going. Slide number 2. Another M21-5, requirements for a valid fee agreement, okay? So what they're saying, in order for this to be valid, meaning the fee agreement and that claims agent or attorney to get 20%, this has to be in effect. Now keep in mind, you need 2 forms, people, the form 21-22 alpha and the fee agreement. Most claims agents and attorneys, they file them together. Sometimes they'll do it later, but it has to be within 30 days of that fee agreement being signed, okay? To be valid, fee agreements must be written, be signed by the claimant and the representative. So you, the veteran, has to sign it. You need to make sure you understand what you are signing. Just don't be signing anything, okay? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have representation from a claim agent or an attorney. That is totally up to you, but understand what you're signing as it pertains to these fee agreements, okay? Contain the, name of the veteran or the claimant, right? But look what I have highlighted in red. Specific terms under which the amount to be paid for the services of the agent or attorney will be determined. It needs to be in there 20%. If it's 25, 30, 33 and a third, the VA is only going to pay 20%. And then the VA will say, hey, lawyer or claims agent, if you want to charge a veteran more than that, you can do it. But we're only going to pay you 20%. All right? Now, another thing about this, look at it, it says paid for the services. Let's say the veteran received a rating decision and the veteran is going to appeal. The veteran got denied PTSD, service connection for PTSD, and service connection for migraines, all right? Let's say the veteran seeks representation from a lawyer or claims agent, and the veteran says, hey, in this fee agreement, make sure you put in there, I only want you to represent me on the PTSD. I'm going to do the high-level review for the migraines. So now you have what is called limited power of attorney, okay? I'm not going to get into that, but it's called limited power of attorney. The veteran wins the appeal for the PTSD and migraines. The claims agent or attorney is only going to get paid the back pay for the PTSD and not the migraines. The reason why I give this example, there's individuals, VSRs, they're called attorney fee coordinators. Sometimes they don't check and look, and they will give the claims agent or attorney the 20% off the PTSD and migraines, and they shouldn't have done it for the migraines. And now you have to go to OGC, you got to file appeal, and it gets messy, and now that 20% that should have went to you, went to somebody else, and it just becomes a hot mess at that point. Again, people, this is why you got to be educated on this stuff. Let's keep going. Slide number 3. Another M21-5, fee amount permitted for direct payment of fees. VA will only directly pay fees when the total fee payable, excluding expenses, is not greater than 20% of the total amount of past due benefits, back pay. Okay, the fee amount is considered presumptively reasonable if the fee agreement specifies a total fee payable greater than 20%. The agent or attorney is responsible for collecting fees without assistance from the VA. Now, in this example or in this situation, I've seen agents and law firms do this. They'll say they waive any fees. They don't want 20, they don't even give me 20% VA. 9 times out of 10, they got a contract with the veteran outside the VA for more than 20%. It could be 25%, it could be 30, it could be 33 and a third. And guess what, people? The VA is okay with that, okay? I don't know why, but I think they should put stipulations on it. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Should it just be 20%, period, okay? Then they give you an example of this. If the fee agreement provides that the VA will pay a 20% fee to the agent or attorney out of past due benefits, back pay, and the claimant will pay direct to the agent or attorney an additional 5% fee, the total fee payable is 25% of the total amount of past due benefits awarded. As a result, the fee agreement will not qualify for direct payment, okay? So that agent and attorney already know they're not gonna put 25, 30, or 33 and a third percent. If they do, they're inexperienced and the VA is not gonna pay them. That's what they're telling them, okay? But again, if the attorney fee coordinator botches this up, then you know what, you got them because they didn't follow what their guidance tells them to do, all right? Slide number 4. Here in slide number 4, another M21-5, when a direct pay fee agreement must be filed. A direct pay fee agreement generally must be filed with AOJ. You already know what AOJ is from the first slide, within 30 days of execution. A fee agreement is fully executed once it is signed by both parties. The agent, attorney, the claimant, beneficiary, measure the 30-day period from the date of the final signature applied to the document. Now, when you are signing documents, you have your claims agent or attorney. They'll sign, then they'll put a date underneath it, and then you may sign, put a date underneath it. They're going to count 30 days from that date. Again, some agents and lawyers, I've seen them submit it at the same time they do that 21-22 alpha. That's the best time. But again, veterans, you need to be reading this stuff and understanding it. Ask these lawyers or claims agents, wait a minute, what's this fee agreement? Explain it to me. And explain it to you in detail so you understand, okay? Slide number 5. Determining the work on which a fee can be charged, scope of case or claim. An agent or attorney earns fees for work within the scope of the representation consistent with the appointment and detailed in the fee agreement, pursuing an available adjudicative review option to obtain a favorable result on an issue or issues that are within the scope of a case or claim. I gave you all an example about this earlier, you know, the PTSD and the migraine, scope of work, okay? Now, you can get really detailed or have that agent or attorney get really detailed as it pertains to services. So the example I gave you earlier about the PTSD and the migraine, the veteran wants the lawyer to say, hey, you handle the PTSD, I'm gonna do the migraines. They may not agree with it. They may say, hey, if we're gonna do the PTSD, we're gonna do the migraines as well, or we're not gonna do anything at all. Then you have to make the decision, say, hey, kick rocks, don't worry about it, I'll take it from here. Now, here's some things that I saw. I never was a VSR, never was an attorney fee coordinator, but I still seen this in veterans claims when I adjudicated because it's all in the same claims folder. So let's say you sign up with a claims agent and attorney and you say, I want you to represent me. They say, okay, you sign the fee agreement. And this is before you do a high level review. And then you say, you know what? You all did the claim, but I couldn't get a hold of you. You wasn't responsive. You didn't communicate with me. I'm going to revoke you. And you can do that. You let the VA know. You can call them. You can put it on 4138 and let the agent or an attorney know. You get the rating decision and the attorney sends the VA a letter saying, hey, we're removing ourselves as this veteran's POA, power of attorney representative or claims agent, right? And that's all they send them. And then you file the high level review, you do all the work, and you win. Guess what? Their attorney still gets paid. That claims agent still gets paid, even though you did the work. Here's why. If you revoke the lawyer or claims agent, and the claims agent or lawyer lets the VA know, hey, remove me, and you file a high level review, before you file a high level review, you need to tell the lawyer, hey, you need to send in a waiver saying you not only revoke yourself for representing this veteran, you forego any future fees. If they don't send that letter in and you file a high level review and you do all the work, they still get paid. Now, you can do an appeal with OGC and hold it up for 4 or 5, 6 years, okay, and see what happens. And then OGC is going to make that decision, okay? Now, I've also seen where agents and attorneys will say, yeah, VA, go ahead and remove me. And they'll send a letter saying, we do not waive or forego any future fees. That happens. Again, they get paid. If you want to appeal it, you got to go to OGC. And again, you think a BVA, Board of Veterans Appeals, takes a long time. You do this with OGC, it might be the same time, could be longer. There's no set time frame. And I do apologize for this video being so long, but I want to stress the importance of understanding what a fee agreement is before you sign on the dotted line, okay? And don't be afraid to tell that agent or representative, hey, I only want you to do this, 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 and this on a high level review, okay? Promise, people. Last example. Let's say you do have an agent or lawyer to submit a high level review for you, and they're dragging their feet, and let me know in the comment section if this ever happened to you. The agent or attorney is dragging their feet. And you say, you know what? I want to remove you. I don't want you to represent me anymore, okay? And they forego any fees. And you get a new attorney, okay? And you sign a fee agreement with them. And they win. Now, even though the attorney said, yeah, I forego my fees, but you want to make sure the verbiage, because they could have said they forego their fees after this particular date, meaning, hey, I still want to get paid for the time I actually did the work. And you win, okay? Now, you got two attorneys saying, hey, you got to pay me. VA, oh, you got to pay me. Now there goes the OGC. And what you have, veteran, is a hot mess. So I say all that to say this. Understand what fee agreements are. Understand when they are no longer invalid. Understand what the agent or attorney needs to submit to the VA as it pertains to foregoing any future fees, okay? Again, people, I apologize. I know this video went on and on, but a lot of valuable information. When I went out to the M21-5, it was a lot of information, more than what I thought that they had, okay? So make sure you understand about these fee agreements before you sign on the dotted line. With that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and as always, share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.